Hello everybody. I wanted to give you a quick overview demonstration of this tool I've been working on for a little while. It's called EntryInspector, and it's kind of come from a lack of capabilities that the mid-tier has since we've lost something like the user tool. Just the ability to look at data, look at easily reported data, pull fields out, quickly being able to export data. All these things are a bit longer and harder in the mid-tier, so I was just looking at building something that can be used in a bit of a quicker fashion. And since I've put this together, I come to use it pretty much every day, so I wanted to give you guys a quick overview of kind of what's coming, because I do plan on making this available to others pretty shortly, probably at a very small fee, just to cover a lot of the pain and suffering over these last few weeks of evenings and weekends with my wife. So here I go with a little bit of a demo. So first, let's log in to the environment. You can see here we can put the username, password, port, and RPC if we want to limit our traffic to a specific queue. And right off the bat, we can basically have a dumping of all of the forms from the system that user has access to. I'm logged in as an administrator, so I can see everything. So let's bring up incidents. So I can see by picking this form that I've got this view context here. I can see both views available on this 8.1 incident system. So based on the selection here, it'll actually drive what fields are available here when you're looking at a search type of advanced search format. So this is basically a query builder helper, similar to an advanced search in the mid-tier. So depending on which actual view you pick, you have a different set of fields. And then if you wanted to search based off just DB names and field IDs, you can just quickly switch here, and the fields displayed are DB names, versus when you click here, they're actually labels. So if I wanted to qualify just operational category equals failure as an example, I can pick that. I can use some of these other helpers as well if I want. Equals failure. Now if I just do a search, I get all of my incidents back that have failure as my opcat tier 1. So notice the columns by default here are all of the same columns that are in the results list in mid-tier. The only difference is all of my results will always have request ID as the first column, just to simplify the whole concept, since this tool is to help you work with data and find. For administrators and developers, request ID is always very important, so I just include it by default. So let's say I don't care about service CI field, and I don't care about the SLM status field. I can just basically right click on my column headers and hide them. The data is still there, it's just not displayed in the table. And then if I wanted to see my 3 categorization fields, I can basically just add those columns in, refresh the search, and here I can see all of my columns are here. I can sort by any column if I want. I can move columns around. I can make columns bigger. So it's very flexible with what you can actually do with that. And if I wanted to just basically do some just high-level inspection of all the data, instead of just adding some key fields, I can add all of the columns. You notice everything gets grayed out, and we've actually added all of the columns, and by default, I don't repopulate them until I perform a search again, just to avoid unnecessary transactions. And now we can see all of these fields have been populated based on that. So I could quickly go and find the record that I want. Once I find what I want, I can double click on it and I get a dump of all the details here, and a little bit easier to read format where it's just basically the field name value, and I can change that to be the field label in the value or the field ID in the value, whichever one makes it easier for you to look at the data and find what you're looking for. If I right click on an entry or go to my actions menu, you'll notice that I can have a few options here. So I can actually modify entries as well. So I have different options. I can use a set action or a merge. So a set is just traditional kind of modify. Merge is like when you're doing an import with the import tool. So if you want to not change your last modified date, last modified by, and all that stuff, you can use a merge option. We also have an overwrite or an append mode. So overwrite again is the traditional, but if you want to just append data, you can set it to append mode. So in my case here, I'm just going to change the status to in progress. And here you'll notice for a selection list, I actually have the drop-downs populated to make it easier. I've also got date calendar objects as well, and I may add some other helper fields as well to these columns. So I'm going to hit save. I'm going to refresh my search. This is request ID 21. Request ID 21, we can see, is in progress. I can do a modify all as well. If I have multiple select, I go to modify, I'm in modify all mode. So same as like in mid-tier, you don't see any of the actual values, so you just have the field ID field name and a place to put in your new value, but I've got the same options. I can do a set or a merge or an override and append. So in this case, if I just did a merge and I want to set all of these three to in progress, I can click on save. And these three here, if I refresh, we see it's assigned in progress. Now they're all in progress. I can export just selected rows, or I can export all rows based off the categorization, the qualification that I have here in either ARX format or CSV format. I can also delete either a single selection or multi-select based on what you put. So I'm not going to delete these here, but the capability is there. I'm just going to reset this now just to show you some of the other stuff it can do. On any ITSM system out of the box, this form here will contain the most entries. There's about 130,000 entries on there. So if I just did a full result search, I can see that I actually can load in about 3 or 4 seconds 137,000 entries into my table here. Doing that in mid-tier is roughly about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes that it actually takes to do. So it makes actually working with large data sets quite a bit easier. And then you can start looking through all of the data or splicing the data out however you'd actually want it to be. So in this case, there's 38,000 from the United States, and you see it loads actually very quickly. And you can quickly export those or look at the data differently. The amount of memory being used by this is a fraction of what the mid-tier uses as well. Loading this full search into your mid-tier based off this form, in my case, in my Firefox, my browser tends to go up to about 3 gigabytes of memory usage versus my tool uses about 1.2 gigabytes of memory to display all of that information. So it makes it working quite a bit easier if you don't have a heavy memory machine. That's all I wanted to show, just a quick sneak peek. I hope to release this tool in the coming weeks, and then I'll provide more information as I go out. If there's any questions or comments, please feel free to shoot me an email at this email address here, and then I'll see if I can add some more capabilities or fix any bugs you may see. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.